Testing, testing. Okay, testing. If you're on the Zoom call, can you please just let me know if you can hear me right now? Oh, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. We'll be getting started in just a moment. We just had some tech setup things with the Zoom, so we'll be ready momentarily. Oh, I know, gavel. I know this. Okay, with that, we will go ahead and call this meeting of Student Senate to order. To begin, those of us in Wildcat Chamber will rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Every time. And then next up, I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, March 11th with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is the home of 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers, and we pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. With that, we will now move into our first roll call with Maggie, so I'll turn it over to her.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Atchison.
Present.
Booz.
Here.
Brown. Burke. Thank you. Carlson.
Here.
I apologize. I should have called Brummett. Okay. Carlson.
Here.
Carr. Clements.
Here.
Colburn.
Here.
Crosslow.
Here.
Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Delavu.
Here.
Doc.
Here.
Dunlap.
Here.
Frederick. Glasscock.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Gromez.
Oh, here.
Hamlin. Hurd.
Here.
Heimerman.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Hutchings.
Here.
Jambunathan.
Here.
James Rose.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Levi.
Here.
McKee. Muthukumar.
Here.
Knoll.
Here.
Nunning.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Panicatu. Thank you. Porter. Thank you. Purdy. Thank you. Richenberg.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Rossi. Solomon.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Shunjay. Snyder Ben. Snyder Blaine.
Here.
Vance. Vogelmore.
Here.
Wallace.
Here.
Ward. Willis Jackson. And Willis Reese. Okay. With that, we have 39 senators present and 6 excused. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. With that, we will now move into the next spot on our agenda. Next up tonight is open period. We have no speakers currently scheduled for first open period tonight. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none, we will continue on with our agenda for the night. I forgot to screen share on the call. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, awesome. Next up on our agenda for tonight, we have approval of the minutes. The minutes were sent out earlier this week. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Please make sure to type it in the chat. It's been moved by Atchison and seconded by Crosslow. Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes will stand approved. Next up on our agenda for the night is announcements. This will be a bit longer tonight, so everyone please bear with me as I work through all our announcements. First of all, congratulations to all the newly elected slate of student senators. I should have sent out an email earlier today about new senator orientation, which is going to be held in a hybridized format from 6 o'clock to 6:45 p.m. on Thursday, March 18th, Thursday, March 25th, and Thursday, April 8th in room 1088 of the College of Business building. That's the large lecture hall on the main floor of the College of Business. Those dates are mandatory, as I brought up in the email earlier. So if you're a newly elected senator, please email me. I'm in charge of that orientation if you will not be able to be there. But it's just a great time to meet other new senators, as well as cover like a lot of topics and get everyone kind of a similar training to start off the year. So again, if you cannot be there, please email me so I can know for attendance and who to expect. Again, that's also in a totally hybridized format. So if you want to stay online, you can. That's why I picked that room over like another one in the Union, because it will allow us for the best kind of hybrid meeting style. Also, that does affect us in another way though. So we're not sending people bouncing back and forth through different locations. We actually will have hybrid Senate for those who want to attend in person. Will be in the College of Business building on those dates. So we will not be meeting in Wildcat Chamber. The only day after tonight that we will be in Wildcat Chamber for the remainder of this term is April 1st, our last meeting. But other than that, like the other ones will be in the College of Business, and the new term, I've also reserved it for there. It's because there's a higher capacity limit on that room. Wildcat Chamber can only hold up to 40 maximum. College of Business can hold up to 50 maximum. And it's just a bigger area that we can spread out and more. So yes, I understand that people are sad, but I would rather that we give the opportunity to more individuals than limit it, which is why we'll be moving to that space. If you have any questions about new senator orientation, please let me know. Oh, I did get multiple emails today from people already this afternoon. Those 3 meetings are covering different topics. So it's not like you have to go to one of them, like all of them are mandatory because we're gonna be covering different things at each of them. I'm breaking out some of my old intern program, like PowerPoint, so get ready for that. I don't have official details yet, but for our second announcement, please look forward to our end of year ice cream social, which is going to be happening on Thursday, April 1st in an outdoor location. I'm trying to secure Memorial Stadium, but we'll see what I hear there. I'm also trying to get an exemption so we can have more than 50 people, since Memorial Stadium should be far larger than we need, since we only have about 150 max in the organization. So ideally, I'll have details on that coming soon, but that'll just be a chance to engage in person with fellow student senators. And so again, it'll be pretty casual for the first part of it. And then we'll move to Student Senate, but Student Senate will start off with like a form, like the awards and like more formal banquety stuff that we do annually. So that way, even if people, again, don't feel comfortable coming in person, they still have the opportunity to hop on that Zoom call and be present for those awards and things like that as well. So more details in the coming weeks. So stick around for information on that coming soon. For our third announcement this week, the Open Alternative Textbook Initiative is actually administering grant application review cycles, and they actually want 2 student government representatives, irregardless of position in the organization. So you would work with like the library and faculty members on kind of like textbook affordability and reviewing grants that have been proposed by members. That they will meet for 2 dates. And I believe they told me that it can be different people for each date. So like if you can only attend one of those dates, that is fine. If you are interested in like reviewing grants and like working on like open and affordable textbooks, please shoot me an email to let me know. So I can appoint people. I can have, I guess, up to 4 if I have 2 people at 2 different events. So if you are interested and would like to attend that, please just shoot me an email right now. For announcement number 4 this week, ties back to the banquet, but we have about a half dozen different awards in the organization every year. And so these are 2 of the awards that we're doing this year. And also we might be creating a brand new one. Senate Exec had this really good idea on Tuesday that I'm finalizing, but next week I'll have more information on that one. But for right now, the 2 awards that have nomination forms that are linked on the agenda are for Senator of the Year. So that's kind of like the most prestigious award we give out just inside the legislative branch. And the way that that award will work is that anyone in SGA can nominate someone. They just have to be a current student senator for that award. You literally just type their name and why you think they're deserving of that award. And then the Senate Executive Committee, so like the top leadership, will review all those nominations. And then like we'll select them as a group. It's how we did it last year as well. And then we have this historical award called the Susan M. Scott Outstanding Female Member Award. That is an SGA wide award. So no matter your position, from intern to student body president, you have the ability to win that award. So if there's someone you'd like to nominate for that, please fill out that nomination form as well. That one will be decided by our core advising team. So they will actually review those nominations. We've got like a half dozen advisors who meet monthly. So they'll be doing that. And I might have another award nomination for next week, but I would highly encourage anyone who would like to support a fellow member of the organization to fill out those, just because again, it's kind of a cool way that we can celebrate other people within SGA. Moving on to our next announcement for tonight is about applications. So as of right now, we just opened up a wide variety of applications for next year's student government. And there'll be more applications even opening soon in the coming weeks. So as of right now, though, what's currently open is the judicial branch application. That is one single application for all the different boards in the judicial branch, as well as the judicial branch leadership positions of like Deputy Attorney General, Chancellor of the Tribunal, Chair of the Student Review Board. If you are interested in being on judicial next year, please fill that out. That one will be the first one that closes this year. That'll close on April 1st at 5 p.m. Annalee Hobbs, our new Attorney General, is the person who's overseeing that process. So please reach out to her if you have any questions. The remainder of these awards will not be selected by any of these people, as they'll be selected by the new term of people once we get them started. However, I did just want to give you the contact information for individuals who've previously held those positions if you have questions. So first of all, we have the Senate Executive Committee application. So that is one application for 7 different positions. That includes the 6 standing committee chair positions. So privilege fee, travel allocations, on-campus allocations, Senate operations, governmental relations, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I sometimes forget one of them when I'm doing it. So those 6 positions will all be open. If you would like to or have any interest in chairing those committees next year, again, that will not be selected by me. That will be selected by the new speaker and speaker pro tem. But I wanted to open the application early to allow people to fill that out if they're interested. Also, if you are interested in being next year's parliamentarian, that is included within that same application right there. The 3 other applications that are open are all independent positions within the organization. So if you are interested in being the SGA communications director, if you are interested in being one of our 2 intern coordinators and helping run the intern program, or if you are interested in being the treasurer for SGA, all of those are open. All of those will close on April 16th at 11:59 p.m. And then interviews will be that following weekend. So probably on Sunday, the 18th is when we would historically do them. So be on the lookout for that. These will now be on the agenda every week. We'll also be publicizing some of them more, I know, within the coming weeks. Executive branch stuff will open soon as well. So be on the lookout. There's just a lot of applications. It's application season. So again, distribute these to anyone you know who's interested. I just wanted to make everyone aware of those right now. Proxies for tonight. So I have on the agenda Doc for Bain and then Phillips for Windholtz. But I also have, today I received Atchison for Manners, Volgamore for Wells, Hurd for Bruce, and then Brown for Harmon. So we have a lot of proxies tonight. For our SGA Member of the Week, the SGA Member of the Week this week is Elections Commissioner Trey Coleman. For his work this election season, it was not an easy task to oversee an election, particularly through COVID-19 and all the different stresses that brought up. But Trey worked incredibly hard, and this was actually an incredibly smooth election season. So let's, give Trey like a big round of applause. He's not on the call right now, but let's clap for him. Trey worked really hard, and was just incredibly dedicated to this whole process. I also do have an announcement. He was unable to come tonight, but he will be submitting a final elections report that can be used next year within the coming weeks. Sorry, I just got a direct message that distracted me. So he will be submitting his report within the coming weeks, and we'll have updates on like statistics and suggestions for future years. So be on the lookout. He'll be attending Senate shortly to be able to do that. And then finally, you can see our upcoming events calendar with our quote of the week this week. I'm a nerd, so I really like this one, but there will be a time when we must choose between what is right and what is easy. And Dumbledore says that at the end of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So with that, I just gave a whole bunch of information. I just want to check if people have any questions for me at this time about anything. I'm also getting direct messages about proxies, but I just want to be clear to everyone, unless I hear it from the person who requested the proxy, I'm not going to grant it. So I have some people like, oh, someone told me that they asked me to be their proxy, but they never reached out to me. So I just need that verification to make sure that that's what they want. So sorry, if you weren't listed, you are not a proxy tonight. I got multiple DMs about multiple different people. So I just want to clarify that. But are there any questions right now about anything I just said? That was a lot of word vomit. Okay, awesome. Seeing none, we will continue on with our agenda for tonight. Thank you all for sticking with me through all those announcements. We have no commendations this evening, but we do have a resolution of appointments tonight. So I am seeking a motion to consider Resolution 57. If I could get a so moved in the chat. Moved by Cox Leader Phillips, seconded by Senator Heimerman. So let me go down to it. The author will please come forward. All right, I hope this is on. Cool. Yeah, got to be close to it. All right, this is Resolution 2021-57, approval of interim student senators by the Senate Operations Committee. Whereas Morgan Garrett resigned from the position of student senator for the College of Architecture, Planning, and Design, and Juan de Santiago resigned from the position of student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences. Whereas Article 4, Section 5B of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association bylaws allows the Senate Operations Committee to appoint interim student senators from the KSU-SGA intern class after recommendation from the KSU-SGA intern coordinators. Whereas interim student senators have all the privileges and responsibilities of a student senator and SGA intern. Whereas given that the 2021 KSU-SGA elections have closed, it makes more sense to appoint interim student senators from the active phase 2 interns instead of continuing to reach out to people who received write-in votes in the 2020 KSU-SGA elections. And whereas the KSU-SGA intern coordinators have recommended Tanner Koch for the position of student senator for the College of Architecture, Planning, and Design, and Richard Solomon for the position of student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences. Be it resolved that the following individual be approved as an interim student senator for the College of Architecture, Planning, and Design, Tanner Koch. And Section 2, the following individual be approved as an interim student senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences, Richard Solomon. Are there any questions or corrections for the author of that resolution? Seeing none, I will now seek a motion of approval on this resolution. Moved by Cox Leader Phillips, seconded by Senator Kroslow. Are there any objections to approving this resolution unanimously? Seeing none, this resolution will stand approved RJ and Tanner, if you would like to come to the front of the room, we will get you sworn in. They're both here in person, so it'll be kind of fun. You just want to stand right there? Oh, you don't stand right. And raise your right hand. And at the end, you'll just say, I will. So I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of student senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association.
I will.
Awesome. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, name, major, hometown, and your favorite smell.
Hi, my name is Tanner Koch. I'm in the College of Architecture, Planning and Design, planning on doing general architecture with possible minor in community planning and a possible minor in leadership. I'm from Cottonwood Falls, Kansas, which is a small town like an hour and 15 minutes south of here. And my favorite smell would be like freshly cut grass.
My name is Richard Solomon. You can call me RJ if you would like. I am from Olathe, Kansas. I'm majoring in personal financial planning with a minor in leadership studies and possibly a minor in gender, women, and sexuality studies. And my favorite smell changes quite a bit depending on the day, but I said strawberries earlier. So I will say strawberries now.
Round of applause. Awesome, that's exciting. We are so excited to have some new student senators join us. And I can say that there might be some more coming in the next week as well. So stay tuned. So with that, we'll now continue on with our agenda. At this point in time, we are now in committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report at this time? Yeah, Chair Rodriguez, I saw your hand.
Okay, hi guys. For all of you that were candidates during the past few days and you haven't filled out my demographic survey, please do so. That means a lot. Thank you. It took like 3 minutes. You probably could have finished it by the time I finished talking. So go ahead, and I'm pretty sure it's over to emails.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Chair Rodriguez? Seeing none. Next up is Chair Brown. Are you in Wildcat Chamber? Yeah, you can come to the front of the room if you want to do yours.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to give an update on the fine arts piece of legislation that was introduced 2 weeks ago. So the committee decided to hold that in committee Monday because there were just some questions regarding, one, our time was kind of running out, but we had some questions regarding additional information. And so the committee actually had an additional meeting today, right before Senate. And so a few changes were made that I just wanted to give you a heads up on before they show up on the agenda next week. So music, theater, and dance was the main area that there was like some concerns over. So previously, music, theater, and dance were all decreased by 35%. But today, in reference of legislation, the committee changed that. We had some additional information and questions that Mr. Stark provided with us, who is the person that did the fine arts presentation. And the committee amended those to instead be a 20% decrease for music, a 20% decrease for theater, and a 25% decrease for dance. So you will see that amended legislation. Is that wrong, Blake?
Oh, no, you're right.
Okay, you just shook your head. So that will be an amended piece of legislation that is coming forward this next week. If you would like to see that additional information that we received, I would be happy to send it to you, and I can upload it to Org Central as well. But are there any questions? Oh, sorry.
Are there any questions for Chair Brown?
I've never felt this way before, and I was somewhere. I was told that I couldn't, that it wouldn't be good for me. And I
Sorry,
know-
just a reminder, everyone, try to mute just so we can tell who's talking.
Or is it a
Um,
series of
No, it's a
people?
person. It's several people, but I went
Got it? Okay, sorry. Again, remember to mute just because we can hear everything. So We just want to keep track of what's going on. Speaker Pro Tem Billman asked us what was the original proposed decreases.
The original proposed decreases was 35% for music, 35% for theater, and 35% for dance.
Are there any further questions for Chair Brown? Seeing none. Next up for committee chairs who'd like to give a report, I have Chair Booz.
Yeah, so just a small little report, but Speaker Nathan, Speaker Bothwell just said that like there might be more interim student senators coming, but there definitely will be. So we'll be, making sure to get people involved who are involved phase 2 interns, and then definitely making sure that we get everyone that we can from the 2021 SGA elections to be there on April 8th, which is the first day of that term. And so, I've started reaching out to Health and Human Sciences write-ins and graduate school write-ins because those colleges did not have enough people file to fill all their seats. So we'll try to make sure that all of them are there as well. So, and then finally, the committee has been working on some statutes changes, like looking at some of the random committees that we have in the statutes. And so recently, we reached out to the library. This was Laura Bain actually who did this. Found that they have an advisory committee, and we appoint a few people from the at-large application. But the version of the University Library Committee that's in the statutes no longer exists and hasn't existed for a while. And so we're going to have a bill to remove it at some point, hopefully before the end of the term, but maybe in the next term. So just want to update you on what we've been doing and what I've been doing.
Are there any questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report? Seeing none, we will now move on to directors' reports. Are there any directors who would like to give a report? Oh, Speaker Pro Tempore Billman. Yep, you have the floor. You can go from your chair or from there. Yeah, you just need a mic.
I'll just hang out here. This will be an introduction of legislation, but the resolution that I mentioned last week has been sort of finalized, and you'll see that, like I said, in introduction later. But when I will present on that, I'll also send out a Google form link. If you're interested in being an author, you can just tell me now, or you can fill out the link. But please distribute that link to any of your friends or colleagues who might be interested in being a part of that. But more to come on that later. Yeah, also, I don't see Director Sarah Haggard on the call, but she just asked me to remind everyone last week to go to the bystander awareness training that I talked about in a report last week. I'll send out that flyer again in the minutes, but it's really important that you all attend. I think it's April 15th, but like I said, I'll send that out again. So thanks, everyone.
Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tem Billman? Seeing none, are there any further directors who would like to give a report tonight? Seeing none, we will now continue on with our agenda. No caucus time this evening, so we will move directly into final action right now. Final action is actually Bill 26, which I carried. I'm just gonna go for my chair as well. I'm not gonna stand up. So I'll just start before I move into debate. There was one change that was really brief that was made in committee, and that was on line 44. We just changed 2 regular meetings to be first regular meeting because that's what this bill does. And that was just an oversight in the original copy. So I guess I'll move into debate, and Maggie, you can field questions at the end since I'm speaking on it. But just to clarify, for a bit of history on this, we actually introduced this bill back at the very first meeting of this semester, and it's been held in committee ever since. We just had a lot of things happen that kept it like continuing to be held in committee, including like the rolling blackouts, like Miss Senate exec and things like that. So it's been a little while, but ultimately it came back to all of Student Senate right now. So this bill, all it does is it amends the election process for the Speaker of the Student Senate, so my position, to be a 1-week process, not a 2-week process. This is a change I personally felt really passionate about after my transition last year. Although my transition was also mostly online, I felt like there was like a lot that we expect of the speaker, where we really expect them to like within a matter of days immediately begin like selecting their committee chairs. They have to immediately sit down and chair Speaker pro tempore election. And I'll be honest, I got really envious of the executive branch who gets a whole month to transition into their role. And so I think that having a single like 1-week process allows the Speaker of the Student Senate better time to transition into their future role, and to ensure that like we're not throwing a bunch of pressure on them, and that it's not a position that requires like, you know, like someone who knows everything that's going on all the time 24/7 to get the role. I still want speakers to obviously be experienced when getting the position, but I don't think that we should require like someone who knows the process inside and out immediately upon getting the position. So that was really important to me when making this bill and why I felt that it was important. It was held in Senate Exec because actually this body referred it back to that committee to be discussed further. And Senate Exec discussed this from a variety of different angles. We discussed potential amendments or alternative solutions that would maybe address all the problems and concerns. But ultimately, Senate Exec referred this favorably out of committee on Tuesday. I think really just for the understanding that it was made by one member, that, you know, this might be a different change, but it's a pretty easy and pretty simple one. We can try it for this coming year. And if we don't like it, we can always amend it like back to the old way next year. So that was kind of the decision that was made. And I think ultimately like summarizes why Senate Exec referred it out favorably. Again, we discussed it from every angle, but really ultimately decided that I think the group felt like it could be something worthy and like worth trying. So I would encourage everyone to vote yes on this when we get to voting later. It's important to me personally. And I think it could be a really good change in helping set up the success for our future speakers. So I'll take any questions now and I'll let Maggie field them.
Yeah, just since we have some new senators appointed this evening, just a reminder that when you ask questions of a debater, it should be to gain information and not to be debate-like. If you'd like to debate, please come up and debate in the negative. It's very encouraged that we foster positive debate in Student Senate. So with that, any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Maggie. Seeing that, I will now seek, I just gave first right to debate in the positive, so I'm now seeking any debate in the negative on Bill 26. If you would like to debate in the negative, please indicate so now in the chat. Yep, Chair Brown, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually not super against this piece of legislation, but it was something that I was pretty opposed to during Senate Exec. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of my thought process and some of the concerns that I had, you know, in case it doesn't work out next year, that there's a little bit of an opportunity for like you as the incoming senators to kind of just see where my thought process was. So I really am a fan of the idea that this gives the speaker an additional week. There's a lot that needs to be done during that week. My main concerns were regarding new people coming into Senate and how they have to elect someone at their first meeting. And I really thought that that additional week between nomination and voting was super nice, just to get coffee with a candidate if you wanted to learn a little bit more about their position, you know, kind of understand more like, what does a speaker even do in Student Senate? It's a really important role. And, you know, coming in, I was really confused as to what all their position entailed. So I do think it is a good change to try out. I'll probably be voting yes for this legislation, but I just wanted to share some of my concerns that I had so you could make your own decision for it.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you, Madison. Is there any further debate in the positive on this bill? Is there any further debate in the negative on this bill? Is there any further debate at all on Bill 26? Seeing none, we will now proceed into a roll call vote. So I will turn it over to Maggie. Again, so because we have some new senators, I just want to give a reminder. When voting, you can vote yes, you can vote no, the two obvious ones. You can also abstain if you would just prefer to abstain from voting altogether. And then you can also pass if you are undecided. So you can pass on voting and you'll get skipped over, and then it'll come around to you once everyone else has voted. You can only pass once though, you can't keep passing forever. So with that, Maggie, you can take it.
Atchison,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes, by proxy.
Booz,
Abstain.
Brown,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes, by proxy.
Brummett, Burke, Carlson,
Yes.
Carr, Clements, Colburn,
Yes.
Croslow,
Yes.
Diaz de Leon,
Yes.
Delavu,
Yes.
Doc,
Yes.
Dunlap. Thank you, Frederick. Glasscock.
Yeah.
Grills.
Pass.
Gromes.
Yes.
Hamlin. Harmon.
Yes, by proxy.
Hurd.
Yes.
Heimerman.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Hutchings.
Yes.
Jambunathan.
Yes.
James Rose.
Abstain.
Kidd.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Levi.
Yes.
Manners.
Yes, by proxy.
McKee. Muthukumar.
Yes.
Knoll.
Yes.
Nunink.
Yes.
Panikatu. Thank you. Porter, or I'm sorry, Phillips.
Abstain.
And then Porter, thank you. Purdy. Thank you. Richenberg.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
No.
Rossi. Solomon.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Shunjay. Snyder Ben. Snyder Blaine.
Abstain.
Vaunts. Bulgamore.
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Ward. Wells.
Yes, by proxy.
Willis Jackson. Willis Reese.
Yes.
And Windholtz.
Yes, by proxy.
Okay, to go back through, I had a pass from Grills.
Abstain.
Okay. Is there anyone whose name I did not call? Okay, with that, Bill 26 passes 37 to 1 to 5. Thank you, everyone.
With that, we will now move on to the next piece of legislation on our agenda, which is Bill 29. Will the author please come forward? Andrew?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Gotta keep track of everything.
And then have any changes been made?
Yeah, there have been a lot of changes have been made on this. And so it would probably be a good idea to just re-summarize from the top. So when this was introduced, it was meant to basically get rid of the requirement for the executive branch to have a public relations director, because the way it was written in the statute, well, the bylaws actually, the definition of the public relations director was basically exactly the same as the communications director, but for the executive branch only. And so that was the initial intention, but Marissa and I worked on it and talked to, Tel and several other people. And we came up with two ideas, one of which was we basically thought that having the communications director take over all of what the PR director was doing would not be a little bit much. And so giving them the ability to appoint an assistant, or by keeping the public relations director, but kind of orienting their duties towards responding to requests for information from outside sources, newspapers, official statements, as opposed to communicating with the K-State community through social media. And so that's what this version ended up doing. So we are not striking section 3B of Article 3 of the bylaws. Instead, we are keeping it, but striking that section 1, attend student senate meetings. And in fact, those should be renumbered there as well. I don't know how we missed that, but they really should be 1 through 4. And then adding the section 5, which would really be 4, which would be respond to requests for official statements or public relations materials from external sources, in order to kind of, shift that position towards being external focused. On the other hand, there were a lot of kind of weird things just in the communications director's duties in the first place. And so that has stayed mostly the same. We have taken out some stuff around requiring all of the plans to be approved by SGA leadership. And we also got rid of, I believe but the changes on the screen are correct. But we also changed the title as well, so that it's now to clarify the roles of the public relations and communications directors. So yeah, I mean, really, it's just shifting the public relations director to being external and the communications director to take care of most like SGA to K-Stater communications.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Now you have your first right to debate this.
Yeah, that was a little like kind of blurring the lines there. But I think this is actually kind of important. I think we should, try to make sure that a lot of the duties are separate. And like, even though we'll have people with the executive and the legislative branch working together, or the executive and the independent positions, we'll have them working together often, they should have separate duties. And so, in the status quo, their duties written down are basically the exact same thing, except for executive or all SGA. And in that case, the initial idea was to just make the all SGA position the one that would do all of the SGA stuff. And that didn't quite, make sense. But I still think the way that we have ended up amending the bill makes the bylaws and this situation, where the situation with the communications and PR directors better than it was before. So I'd urge a vote in the affirmative.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Question from Senator Croslow.
Andrew, could you share with us the reason why the PR director is excused from attending all the Senate meetings?
Well, most of that is because the communications director was never required to do that. And the PR director, if you haven't noticed, like, I don't believe the PR director this year or last year ever did that. And so, what? Yeah, so they've never done that. And so it doesn't make sense to require them to do something that they will continue not to do.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Are there any further questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you for your debate, Andrew. Now I will seek any debate in the negative. Is there any debate in the negative on Bill 29? Seeing none, is there any additional debate in the positive on Bill 29? Is there any additional debate at all? Seeing none, seeing none, yeah, we should be good. Seeing none, we will now proceed into another roll call vote. So I will turn it over to Maggie to do that.
Atchison,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes, by proxy.
Booz,
Yes.
Brown,
Yeah.
Bruce. Sorry, Bruce.
Sorry, yes, by proxy.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. I said it weird. That was my bad. Brummett. Burke. Carlson.
Yes.
Carr. Clements. Colburn.
Yes.
Crosslow.
Yes.
Diaz de Leon.
Yes.
Delavu.
Yes.
Doc.
Yes.
Dunlap. Thank you. Frederick. Glasscock.
Yep.
Grills. Gromez.
Yes.
Hamlin. Harmon. Harmon.
Yes, by proxy.
Hurd.
Yes.
Heimerman.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Hutchings.
Yes.
Jambunathan.
Yes.
James Rose.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Levi.
Yes.
Manners.
Yes, by proxy.
McKee. Muthukumar. Knoll.
Yes.
Nunink.
Yes.
Panikatu. Thank you. Phillips.
Yes.
Porter. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Kumar. Purdy. Thank you. Richenberg.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rossi. Salmon.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Shunjay. Snyder Ben. Senator Blaine.
Yes.
Fonts. Fulgamore.
Yes.
Wallace. Thank you. Ward. Wells.
Yes, by proxy.
Willis Jackson. Willis Reese.
Yes.
And Windholtz.
Yes, by proxy.
Is there anyone whose name I did not call? With that, Bill 29 passes 43 to 0. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. With that, we will now continue on with our agenda. So next up is Bill 35, but there's a motion that's been made by Chair Booz to hold Bills 35 and 36 for bulk roll call. That means that when we vote on them, we just vote on the two of them like simultaneously. So you can say like yes to both, no to both, yes to one, no to the other, like that. There's been a second in the chat. Are there any objections to doing a bulk roll call? It's been objected by Chair Brown to do a bulk roll call on that. Hold on, parliamentary question. Okay, so yeah, so we're not going to debate this motion. We're just going to vote on it. To vote on this one, we're just going to do a show of hands. So if you are a student senator, if you would like to bulk roll call bills 35 and 36, please use the raise hand feature on Zoom at this time. That's in the participants window. If you need help, let me know or DM me. So I'll give a few moments for everyone who'd like to bulk roll call that. Also, if you're a proxy, you can DM me your proxy's vote. Like we would raise 2 hands if it was without catching, if we were all in person, so. Okay, everyone, thank you. I count 30 hands are raised, excuse me, and then I got DM'd 1 proxy, so I'm clearing all feedbacks. There's 31 in favor of the bulk roll call. Sorry, 32, just got another one. And then all opposed to the motion for bulk roll call, please raise your hand right now as well. Okay, so I have 6 hands raised and 1 no by proxy DM'd to me. So that's 7. So by margin of 32 to 7, the motion does pass. So we will bulk roll call these 2 bills as they come up. So thank you all for that. It's been a while since we've had an objection to something. So with that, will the author of Bill 35 please come forward?
Okay. I have to walk closer.
You can just sit there.
Okay, let me.
I guess first, have any changes been made?
No.
With that, you then have first right to debate on Bill 35.
Okay, hello everyone. So this is the continuance for the student health privilege fee. Student health is also known as Lafine Health Center. I hope you've gotten the opportunity to visit there before. Well, actually no, because that means you're 6, never mind. But as everyone knows, this year has been very difficult because of COVID, and Lafine Health Center has been a huge part. First, to start off with some of the general services they provide, you can just meet with a general practitioner doctor. They offer physical therapy, they offer allergy immunizations, etc. The list goes on. So the Lafine Health Center did request a continuance for 1 year. Typically, privilege fee contracts are going to be 3 years, but this is a request for 1 year. The reason for that is just because how volatile everything has been because of COVID. They and the Lafine, as well as the committee, felt like it was the best opportunity to kind of wait, see where things were for a year. In terms of like general expenses, their expenses have been a lot higher compared to their revenue this year, just because of students not coming in as much, them not getting that extra revenue from people being off campus due to COVID, as well as additional expenses because of COVID related items. Lafine provided a very, very in-depth Power BI report. That is something that the committee looked over. And so if you do look at the minutes, you'll find that there's not necessarily a ton on there for questions because a lot of our questions were answered in that report. So I think this is a really vital service that we have, especially in the current times that we are in. And yeah, sorry, that was more debate like, but okay, good. I forgot we're not in introduction, but so sorry, it's been a long day. But yeah, this is a really important service. This does mean that Lafine will actually be coming back next year. So I think that this is a good opportunity for us to see where COVID is at, see if they're continuing to have those expenses, et cetera. And it's also what they requested. So I will now stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Brown at this time? Seeing none, I will now move into debate in the negative. So is there any debate in the negative on Bill 35? Seeing none, is there any additional debate in the positive on Bill 35? Is there any more debate at all on Bill 35? Seeing none, we will not proceed into a roll call vote because we're bulk roll calling them. So instead, we'll just immediately move to Bill 36. Will the author of Bill 36 please come forward? Have any
Hello.
changes been made?
There have not been any.
Okay, with that, you have first right to debate.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So this is the continuance for counseling services. So counseling services also came in and asked for a 1-year continuance. The committee felt very similar in terms of giving 1-year contracts to both of these entities. Whenever we're looking at mental health right now in the middle of a pandemic, it's very important. A majority of counseling services, like privilege funding, goes towards salaries, and they do not receive really any sort of revenue because every student receives 8 free sessions a semester. And so really all this money is going right to students and compensating the therapists and practitioners who are working with them. The committee felt like there has been a little bit of a decrease this year in terms of people who are seeking counseling services, like they're seeking their services. But whenever we had some in-depth discussion on it, we did not feel like it was an appropriate decision to decrease an entity like counseling services in such a difficult time right now. There were some conversations with the director and a medical, or like a, oh, I forget her name, but a representative from counseling services, and they're expecting to have a large increase in utilization and need for counseling once COVID kind of ends. They gave a really good metaphor in terms of like, people are still in the storm of COVID right now, so they're not even really looking to recover from that storm. It's only once that storm blows over that they're really going to start like saying like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much this affected me. And so they're going to expect an increase in utilization within the next year. So this is also a 1-year contract. They will be back again next year, but we felt like a continuance is something that's going to allow them to continue to operate and not hinder their services during such a hard time.
Are there any questions for Chair Brown about her debate? Seeing none, I will now seek any debate in the negative on Bill 36. Is there any additional debate in the positive on Bill 36? Senator Grills, you have the floor.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Madison said a lot of all the important stuff, and counseling services is definitely my child this year on Privy. Definitely like what I would give up other entities to fight for is counseling services because it's so particularly important this year. We're definitely having conversations with counseling services of how we can increase revenue. We haven't necessarily found those different avenues quite yet, but those conversations are open to discussion. Yeah, the direct quote from Cody, who is the director of counseling services, is that we need to be ready for the mental health crisis once things go back to normal. She talked about it as if this was a battle and we were in war right now. You didn't even know that you're injured because the war isn't over yet. And so that's when we're going to need to address the huge mental health crisis once this is finally simmered out. And I would hate to decrease counseling at that time. Right now, their expenses are exceeding their revenue. So that's also a problem that we're looking at addressing, but Lafine and counseling services are merging together. So that's going to solve a lot of the issues with the exceeding expenses. We cannot afford to take any more money out of reserves after we made a 25% cut to their budget solely out of reserves in the fall. So that is not an area that we can pull from anymore, if that's anything that was on anyone's mind. That's really all I have to say. If you have any questions, let me know.
Are there any questions for Senator Grills? Yeah, make sure to type it in the chat if you're ever have a question. But yeah, Andrew, you can ask your question.
Okay, because I raised my hand on here and I thought that
Oh, sorry, I don't.
okay, I don't know, that's what the raise hand feature is for. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so you mentioned that the merge of Levine and counseling services, like when that goes through, that'll help solve some of the revenue problems. How would that, how would that solve?
Madison wants me to defer this to her.
Okay, so it's being deferred to Chair Brown. So Chair Brown, yeah, if you want to come answer that question.
Could you repeat it again?
Yeah, so there was a question that was about if counseling and Lafine are merging, how will that help solve some of counseling's revenue issues?
Yes. So one of the opportunities that there is with the merging of counseling and Lafine is that they get to decrease their duplication of services. So for example, HR services, things that are like something that can be consolidated, making sure they're using the same computer platform, like software expenses. So in terms of the merging, I would say it would more likely decrease expenses, not necessarily increase revenue. So right now, really counseling doesn't bring in much revenue because everything is free. So there were some discussions on like, oh, would we be interested in increasing revenue? And kind of the fact of the matter was like, we don't want to increase revenue because we never want students to have to pay for this service. Technically, yes, Lafine/counseling could start charging, but that's just not really the purpose or mission of counseling services. And so it's more going to focus on decreasing expenses.
Yeah, and something to add on to that is students actually, if they wanted to, don't have the option to pay for additional counseling sessions. It's only 8, and then they have unlimited group therapy. So there's no option for revenue right now because the therapists are trained for short-term trauma rather than long-term, which that's a whole other background too. But I think Cameron had a question.
Yes, Cameron does. We're getting a traveling mic set up so that way people don't have to run to the front of the room to answer. So give us just a sec on that. Yeah, Michael's getting one ready. But Cameron, if you want to ask your question right now.
Yes, Senator Grills, would you expect that the 1-year contract be something that benefits in regards to seeing if there is cost savings from merging with Lafine?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great idea. I don't necessarily think we're ever going to be able to scoop that much money out of counseling services. I mean, there's 2 reasons why we really want the 1-year cycle for counseling and for Lafine. And Lafine, it's because of the pandemic and everything's going to look different next year, cost-wise and utilization-wise. But in addition to that, counseling services and Lafine are going to look a lot different together with our costs and our savings, considering that we're really wanting to look at a way that we can make the expenses and the revenue meet the same, just break even ground. But if we don't, Lafine is definitely an area that we can pull some extra revenue and plug that into counseling services, because that would make it a lot more of a sustainable plan than what's going on right now.
Awesome. Oh, time for questions has expired. It doesn't look like there's any additional ones in the chat. I just want to make sure. If not, thank you, Ashley, for your debate.
Testing.
Okay, sorry, we were just testing the extra mic so that way people don't have to run up to the front of the room and we're able to just deliver something to you. So next up, I would seek debate in the negative on Bill 35. So is there any additional debate in the negative on, or not 35, excuse me, 36, we're on counseling. I forgot to scroll on the Zoom. Is there any additional debate in the negative on Bill 36? Seeing none, is there any additional debate in the positive on Bill 36? Seeing none, is there any additional debate at all on Bill 36? With none, we will now proceed into a bulk roll call vote on both Bills 35 and 36. So the way that this works is this is just a time saver. So you're voting on both simultaneously. So when it gets to your name, you can like say your individual vote for each bill. So if you like one and oppose the other, you could say, yes to 35, no to 36. Or, you can just say yes to all, no to all, etc. And always remember to add that by proxy if you're a proxy. So, like yes to all by proxy. So it gets even longer, a bit of a mouthful, but with that, I'll turn it over to Maggie.
Thanks. Just a reminder, 35 is Lafine, 36 is counseling services. Atchison,
Yes to all.
Bain,
Yes to all by proxy.
very good. Booz,
Yes to all.
Brown,
Yes to both.
Bruce,
Yes to all by proxy.
Brummett, Burke, Carlson,
Yes to all.
Carr, Clements, Colburn,
Yes to all.
Croslow,
Yes to both.
Diaz de Leon,
Yes to both.
Dillaboo,
Yes to all.
Doc,
Yes to all.
Delmont, Frederick, Glasscock,
Yes to y'all.
Grills,
Yes to all.
Gromas,
Yes to all.
Hamlin, Harmon,
Yes to all by proxy.
Hurd,
Yes to all.
Heimerman,
Yes to all.
Hernandez,
Yes to all.
Hutchings,
Yes to all.
Jambunathan,
Yes to all.
James Rose,
Yes to all.
Kidd,
Yes to all.
Coke,
Yes to all.
Levi,
Yes to all.
Manners,
Yes to all by proxy.
McKee, Mukukumar. Thank you. Noel,
Yes to all.
Nunning,
Yes to all.
Panikatu. Thank you. Phillips,
Yes to both.
Porter. Thank you. Purdy.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Richenberg,
Yes to all.
Rodriguez,
Yes to all.
Rossi, Solomon,
Yes to all.
Shear,
Yes to all.
Shunjay, Snyder Ben, Snyder Blaine,
Yes to both.
Bonts, Vogelmore,
Yes to all.
Wallace. Thank you. Ward, Wells,
Yes to all by proxy.
Willis Jackson, Willis Reese,
Yes to all.
and Windholtz.
Yes to both by proxy.
Okie dokie. Is there anyone whose name I did not call? With that, both bills 35 and 36 pass 42 to 0 to 0. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. With that, we still have one more bill and final action tonight. So that will be Bill 37. Will the author of Bill 37 please come forward? Have any changes been made?
No, we've made no changes to this.
With that, first right to debate.
All right, so really what this does is remove the campus activities board. And so to give you some context, I want to go back to the very old year of 1999, which is when I was born, and also when the campus activities board was created. So the campus activities board was kind of was put in the statute or put in the bylaws, excuse me, as like kind of the continuation of like a university activities board that was before 1999. And at the time, it seems like to me that like SGA had fairly wide control over direct registration of student organizations. And so the campus activities board was basically supervising the director of the Center for Student Involvement, which nowadays handles nearly everything, like everything regarding registration of student organizations. And actually, it says in the bylaws would have the ability to reverse their decisions, which let me tell you is not something that the administration would allow today. And I don't know if decisions were ever reversed, like just directly out of this. But what I do know is until about 2005, that this committee was required to meet like twice every semester, I believe. And then after 2005, it was like once per semester. And then like at some point it got changed to on the call of the chair, or basically just whenever it was needed. And for at least the past couple of years, and as far as I know, like the past 10, it seems to never have been needed. And so it just kind of sat there in the statutes. And it was one of the things, or in the bylaws, well, whatever. And it was one of the things that I actually moved around when I was, when we as Student Senate passed a fairly large bill reorganizing the legislative section of the bylaws last term. And so I took notice of this and wanted to come back to it. And so one of the things that I found in the policies and procedures manual, which is official administration policy, is PPM 8540, which is was issued in 2017 and defines a kind of student organization committee. And so 2017 does seem to be like when administration fully took over registration of student organizations. And one of those things, one of the things it mentions were that the student organization committee could make recommendations to the assistant vice president / director of student life, which that position no longer exists. So I let Senator Frederick let me know that, and I sent him an email about it. So he should be talking to Dr. Lane about it. But two, that it does not say that we can overrule the director of student involvement, and in fact explicitly says that we only make recommendations. And so this definitely needed to be changed. And then I also discovered that Article 5, Section 6C states that appeals of those decisions, like the recommendations that are on appeal of a student organization registration decision, are heard by the student tribunal in the judicial branch. So we have a contradiction between our governing documents in the first place, and we also have a contradiction between our governing documents and the documents of the administration, the policies and procedures manual. And so I ended up just saying, hey, I do think that probably the best way to do this would be letting it go through student tribunal, which is a judicial body and is made to process appeals in the first place. And then if it's going through student tribunal, we might as well just get rid of this committee altogether. And so it has a lot of history apparently, but I do think the best way to solve this problem, the multiple problems of contradictions in the governing documents, is to get rid of this. So I would urge an affirmative vote.
With that, are there any questions for Chair Booz about his debate?
And yes, Senator Kozlow, it isn't that old, but it's as old as me. So
seeing no questions, I will now seek any debate in the negative on Bill 37. Is there any debate in the negative? Seeing none, is there any additional debate in the positive? Is there any additional debate at all? Seeing none, we will now proceed into a roll call vote on Bill 37. I bet Maggie's getting tired.
Could use a drink of water, but it's okay. Atchison,
Yes.
Bain,
Yes, by proxy.
Booz,
Yes.
Brown, Bruce,
Yes, by proxy.
Brummett, Burke, Carlson, Carr, Clements, Colburn,
Yes.
Croslow,
Yes.
Diaz de Leon,
Yes.
Dillaboo,
Yes.
Doc,
Yes.
Dunlap, Frederick, Glasscock,
Yes.
Grills, Grometh, Hamlin, Harmon,
Yes, by proxy.
Hurd,
Yes.
Heimerman,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Hutchings,
Yes.
Jane Budithin,
Yes.
James Rose,
Yes.
Kidd,
Yes.
Coke,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Manners, McKee, Mufukumar, Noel,
Yes.
Nunning,
Yes.
Panikatu. Thank you. Phillips,
Yes.
Porter. Thank you. Purdy. Thank you. Richenberg,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rossi, Solomon, Shear,
Yes.
Shunjay, Snyder Ben, Snyder Blaine,
Yes.
Barnes, Vogelmore,
Yes.
Wallace. Thank you. Ward, Wells,
Yes, by proxy.
Willis Jackson, Willis Reese,
Yes.
and Windholtz.
Yes, by proxy.
All right, I have one to go back and fix. Is there anyone whose name I did not call? Okay, with that, Bill 37 passes 42 to 0. Thank you, everyone, for your attention through that process.
Awesome. Thank you all. With that, we have now moved through final action on all pieces of legislation tonight. So now we'll just be moving into the introduction of any remaining legislation we have. So we are now on Bill 38. Is there a motion to consider Bill 38? Moved by Chair Booz, seconded by Senator Croslow. With that, will the author of Bill 38 please come forward?
You can read it. Oh, sure.
All right, Bill 2021-38, amendments to the KSU SGA Constitution regarding proxy voters in student senate by Andrew Booz, Tommy Compton, Jacob Long, Peyton Lynn, Nick Sight, and RJ Solomon. Whereas vote by proxy is necessary when a student senator has an approved absence from a weekly student senate and is therefore unable to cast their vote on legislation. Whereas Article 5, Section 504G of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Constitution dictates that only student senators may serve as a proxy. Whereas Phase 2 interns have completed the necessary requirements to be sworn in and appointed by the intern coordinator. Whereas Phase 2 interns currently have the right to speak and debate in student senate. Whereas Phase 2 interns have expressed interest in being student senators and seek experience in student senate. Whereas Phase 2 interns gain experience and knowledge of proper procedure in student senate is to the common benefit of interns and senators alike. Whereas serving as a proxy voter is an exceptional way to gain experience in student senate. And whereas student senators should be allowed to select sworn in Phase 2 interns as their proxies. Be it enacted that Section 1, Article V, Article 5, Section 504G of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Constitution should be amended to read as follows. Section G, a student senator may appoint another student senator or phase 2 intern as a proxy voter for a meeting, providing that absence has been excused by the Speaker of the Student Senate. A student senator may carry only one proxy. Section 2, this legislation shall take effect upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President.
Are there any questions or corrections for our speaker? A correction from Chair Booz.
Yeah, I mentioned this to them already, but I didn't feel like I could do this in class. So I wanted to let it known here, because this is a constitutional amendment. We have to pick one of the two methods. And so as a friendly amendment, I just wanted to change section 2 to be like take effect upon passage by the Student Senate, signature of the Student Body President, and approval by the, like, ratification or approval by the college and school councils.
Yeah, we can make that change. It's going to go to your committee anyway. So.
Okay. We could do that there.
Yeah, we can do that. Are there any further questions or corrections? Seeing none, thank you. Can we get applause to Intern Long for presenting on this? Okay, next up for introduction of legislation is Bill 39. Is there a motion to consider Bill 39? I can get a so moved. Moved by Chair Booz, seconded by Senator Croslow. I'm actually the author of Bill 39, so I'll read this one really briefly. Bill 2021-39 is the amendments to the KSU SJA statutes concerning diversity programming request appeals by Nathan Bothwell and Maggie Billman. Whereas the KSU SJA funding regulation should be continually updated as needed, whereas the Diversity Programming Committee, or DPC, currently has no outlined process for allowing student organizations to appeal decisions that are made by the committee, whereas multiple student organizations within the past 2 fiscal years have requested the ability to appeal a decision made by DPC, whereas there's currently a process outlined in Chapter 21 of the KSU SJA statutes for student organizations to appeal decisions made by the On-Campus Allocations Committee and the Travel Allocations Committee, and whereas adding an appeals process to the DPC funding regulations will ensure that student organizations receive a fair and equitable chance at receiving funding from KSU SJA. Be it enacted that Section 1, Section 2403 shall be added to Chapter 24 of the KSU SJA statutes and shall read as follows. I'm not going to read this word for word because it's just copied, like it's literally copying the OCAC and travel allocations process, and I replaced those with DPC. So like it's literally the identical process to what we use already for those 2 committees. But basically it says that we can reconsider a funding request for 3 different reasons. Either the committee failed to provide a fair process, such as like not delivering correct notices or failure to follow our own written procedures and rules. The committee reached a decision in any way that like had bias, was unreasonable, was arbitrary, or discriminated in any form, or the organization has new information that could affect the committee's decision that wasn't present at the time of their initial decision. And then if an organization is dissatisfied, they can file an appeals request, basically just with the Speaker of the Student Senate. They apply that request, and then within 72 hours of having received their initial decision, if the organization completes that, basically the way this process works is that the Speaker of the Senate then sits in on that meeting and essentially becomes the new chair for that committee just for that time frame. And then the committee votes on it again after hearing the request a second time. Are there any questions on this? I can provide some additional context, but yeah, Chair Booz.
Yeah, this is more of a conceptual question, but it mentions like filing a appeal form in the Center for Student Involvement. Like, would it be possible to put those online? Or
Yeah, so there actually is an online, it's on the resources for student organizations page. This is also, I will say, an incredibly rare process. In my 4 years across all committees, the only time I have ever actually seen an appeal happen was in travel allocations my freshman year of all places, when I was an intern rotating through it. So that was kind of a cool time to sit on that committee. And there was a student organization that appealed their request. So it's a pretty rare process. It doesn't happen a lot. To be honest, this might be more than what you asked for, but I wanted to do this because last year in DPC, there was an organization that specifically wanted to request an appeal. But because we didn't have a procedure laid out, I was advised by our advisors that, I should honor the committee's first decision. And then Maggie has also had some issues pop up this year where students have requested like additional follow-up. And so again, we're just adding this process in. To be honest, I don't know if a form is the most necessary thing. I just think that the student group needs to notify the Speaker of the Senate, since they're the one who has to sit in on that request. So it is kind of conceptual, but I just kept the language exactly the same to match what we currently do for TEC and OCAC and what's in the statutes. So.
Okay, so yeah, if we wanted to be more clear about that.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process as well. Are there any further questions for me about Bill 39? Seeing none, we will now move on to Bill 40. Can I get a motion to consider Bill 40? Moved by Crosslow. I need a seconded by Senator Hurd. There's also a motion in the chat to allow the author of Bills 40 through 42 to summarize. That was seconded by Senator Glasscock. Are there any objections to that? Seeing none, if the author of Bill 40 wants to come forward, you can summarize.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. My computer was turned down. I couldn't hear it. Okay, so this is the travel allocation to Associated General Contractors, or AGC. They requested $2,300 for their event in Wichita, Kansas in April. They're sending 12 students, which will provide like networking opportunities and the ability to learn from real world job sites. This also qualifies students to be able to receive departmental scholarships from the state of Kansas. We allocated them $1,000 because they're sending at least 10 people, so that's the maximum that we could allocate.
Are there any questions or corrections
That's
on
it.
Sorry, Carissa, did you have something else to add?
Nope, I was gonna say I stand for questions, that's all.
Okay, perfect. I do know, Andrew, that I uploaded the wrong version of this legislation. The account numbers in section 2 are missing. That is my bad. It was updated and is correct. I just made the agenda at 2 a.m. last night and maybe forgot about that. So that will be correct by the final draft next week with the correct account numbers. Are there any additional questions or corrections? Also, those account number things applies to all the travel allocations bills. I done messed up. Are there any additional, there needs to be a comma on line 21, I'm being told.
After whereas.
After the whereas.
Okay, Maggie will get that down. We'll get that fixed. Any additional questions or corrections? Seeing none, we'll now move to Bill 41. Is there a motion to consider Bill 41? Moved by Phillips. Seconded by Hutchings. Carissa, you now have the floor if you want to summarize Bill 41.
Thank you. Okay, so this is was our allocation to Pre-Dental Club. They've attended this event many years in the past, and unfortunately this year it got rescheduled a couple of times because of COVID, but they're finally telling them, so you may notice there's not an official date. They are for sure planning to have it in the early summer months. They just haven't nailed down a date yet. So right now they are planning to send approximately 20 students to Wichita, Kansas for a one-day clinic. At this clinic, they provide dental health care to the less fortunate communities with people who are not able to get dental care from a normal dentist. It's a volunteering opportunity and they are able to shadow and help out at this clinic. It also helps pre-dental students get to interact in like a real world experience with dental care. And then, yeah, this whole event is free to all of the people that it helps. They asked for $900 for hotel and transportation, and we granted them $900.
Are there any questions or corrections for Chair Jonak? Seeing none, I now need a motion on Bill 42, moved by Chair Booz. There's a second by Caucus Leader Phillips to consider Bill 42. So Carissa, you have the floor again.
Thank you. So this is the travel allocation to the Collegiate Media Group. They requested $1,000 to attend the Associated Collegiate Press College Media Mega Virtual Workshop from July 19th to July 30th. They're requesting funds to cover like the conference fees to attend the event virtually. Students attending this event are going to be able to participate in lots of different sessions and learn skills that help provide the collegian to the student body, such as advertising, working with the magazine and the yearbook. There's lots of different leadership opportunities, and basically it's just a really great way for them to learn. So you will also see that they asked for $1,000 and we only gave them $600, and that's because they are only sending leadership and they're only sending 6 students. So the max amount that we could fund was $600.
Are there any questions or corrections for Chair Jonak? Chair Brown. Did the Collegian discuss their privilege fee funding at all and how they might utilize that?
Yeah, so I can talk about that a little bit. I contacted Amy when I first received their application, and basically there's no funding allotted for this event because they usually would travel to this event. And so they would request money to travel for it. They wouldn't have to pay like or if they did, they'd request like conference, like entry fee money, if that kind of makes sense, that they would normally get from the travel allocations committee, where it's not a travel event, it's a virtual event. They said that they like needed the extra funding to cover that, if that answers your question.
And then I can also jump in a bit. So I think what Madison's getting at is that typically we're not supposed to provide alternative funding to sources that already like receive privilege fee money. But the Collegiate Media Group actually has a registered student organization like on file with the Center for Student Involvement, which I did not know. I thought they were just the privilege fee entity. And so I met with both Kelly and Amy to discuss whether or not we could give them this funding. And the answer is yes, because they're a registered student organization. Like this is going to the members of that organization's funding. So like it won't be paid for like with any privilege fee sources. Alternatively, it's kind of comparable to how we've been discussing like fine arts funding and how there's like organizations registered as fine arts ones within like the School of Music, Theater and Dance that also have like clubs that are registered with CSI. So like they receive privilege fee funding, but they also are student organizations as well. So yes, we are able to give them this money, but yeah, and I checked with our advisors on that. So does that answer your question, Madison? I see a thumbs up. Awesome. Second question.
I'm gonna say, did they discuss what the costs are gonna be since it's for a virtual event?
Could you hear that, Carissa?
Can someone tell me?
Yeah. So the question was like, did they discuss like what the costs are going to be for since the event is entirely virtual?
It's registration fees. That's why if you look online, sorry, I think it's 26. It says virtual conference fees. Like a lot of conferences right now are requiring like registration fees to even be able to attend the conference.
Okay. Are there any further questions or corrections?
I think Jessica had Senator Hutchings
yes.
had one.
There needs to be the word workshop after mega on line 23.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. We can make that change. Thank you, Jessica. Is there any other questions or corrections? Seeing none, thank you, Carissa, for presenting all of these pieces of legislation to us. Next up on our agenda is Resolution 58. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 58? Hold on. So I just got a bunch in at once. Senator Croslow has moved it, and that was seconded by Senator Hurd. And with that, will the author please come forward? I believe Maggie is going to do that one.
Hello, everyone. So Resolution 2021-58, recommendation to Kansas State University regarding the action plan for a more inclusive K-State. And I'm not going to read all of the authors because we're up to about 80 authors on this, and I have not updated it yet. So that's very exciting. Sign up in the link I just sent. So within Kansas State University's recent history, a series of racist actions and hateful rhetoric have plagued students at Kansas State University, both on campus and in online formats. Whereas, although Kansas State University is legally obligated to protect the privacy of individuals involved, a perceived lack of punishment to the individuals responsible for perpetuating hate on campus has the potential to embolden others to do the same without fear of repercussion. Whereas, a number of these actions have specifically targeted individual students, including threats to their families, public slander, and interruption of their learning environment. Whereas students have come together to speak out against these instances in multiple formats, including the first KS Unite, the hashtag Black at K-State movement, and countless protests and demonstrations. Whereas the administration of Kansas State University has released statements following each incident, which is often perceived as inaction by the individuals who are impacted. Whereas in the 2020 Campus Climate Survey, 20% of respondents who are students of color responded that they felt unwelcome on campus and in the surrounding community. Whereas in the same survey, 18% of respondents who are staff of color responded that they felt unwelcome on campus, while 16% responded that they felt unwelcome in the surrounding community. Whereas following the 2020 Campus Climate Survey and the hashtag Black at K-State movement, Kansas State University released Walk the Talk, Action Plan for a More Inclusive K-State, which will be executed in 4 steps: planning, in progress, launched, and evaluation. Whereas this action plan includes the following steps: student specific. Number 1, student ombudsperson's office, which is in progress. 2, policy and process reviews, in progress. 3, student recruitment, planning. 4, student retention and graduation, planning. 5, need-based scholarships, planning. Truth, racial healing, and transformation framework, in progress. Faculty and staff specific. Number 7, faculty and staff hiring and retention, in progress. Number 8, multicultural overlay initiative and planning. And number 9, cultural competency workshops, which is in progress. And I will update those before this goes into final action, just to make sure. Whereas as a body, Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU-SGA, has a responsibility to actively listen to the concerns of the students it represents. Whereas many students have utilized social media and more recently open forums and emails to administrators to express that they see significant need for specific rules and procedures which combat hate speech and discriminatory actions. And whereas KSU-SGA believes that acts of hate are deplorable and that each student of Kansas State University should make an effort to become anti-racist through education and dialogue. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU-SGA, recommends that the action plan for a more inclusive K-State have all steps enter the launch phase by May 2021. Section 2, KSU-SGA recommends that university administration develop a communication plan for the action plan for a more inclusive K-State, which would include biweekly updates to the Student Senate and monthly updates to the KSU student body. Section 3, KSU-SGA recommends that the university administration explore implementing sanctions for individuals who commit online or in-person acts of incitement against protected communities. Section 4, KSU-SGA recommends that the newly created Student Ombudsperson's Office compile and publish a centralized report of aggregated data on an annual basis regarding incidents of discrimination from the Office of Institutional Equity, the Student Ombudsperson's Office, the Office of Student Life, and the Clery Act Federal Compliance Office. Section 5, KSU SGA recommends that university administration look to implement mandatory intercultural and dialogue-based educational experiences such as a revamped Wildcat Dialogue style event, which takes place over multiple days in order to foster constructive conversation and dialogue among students. B, a mandatory online learning module similar to ASAP training through the use of OpenMind, a free nonprofit platform originally developed at New York University for all students, faculty, and staff. C, an updated course list for the K-State area of human diversity within the US to ensure that students learn to identify and discuss diverse perspectives and experiences. Section 6, KSU SGA recognizes that university administration has laid a framework for actionable steps and implores them to continue developing a campus culture where all students, faculty, and staff feel welcomed, safe, and prioritized. Section 7, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to all students of the KSU student body, all members of committees for Walk the Talk Action Plan for a More Inclusive K-State, the deans of all academic colleges, all members of the president's cabinet, Associate Vice President for Student Life of Diversity and Multicultural Student Affairs, Adrian Rodriguez, for distribution to the staff, to all staff of the DMSA, CEO and Dean of K-State Polytechnic Campus, Dr. Alicia Starkey, Interim Dean and CEO of K-State Olathe, Dr. Jackie Spears, Dean of Global Campus, Dr. Karen Peterson, Director of the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life, Jordan Coker, Director of International Student and Scholar Services, Dr. Sarah Thurston, for distribution to the international student organizations, Multicultural Affairs Director Ron Lopez for distribution to the Multicultural Student Organization Leadership Council, Samara Bauer for distribution to the Wildcat Dialogues Planning Committee, Chief Information Officer Gary Pratt, Executive Director of the K-State Student Union, Corey Williamson, for distribution to the Manhattan City Commission Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, Executive Director of the Office of Recruitment and Admissions, Tammy Byland, Associate President for Student Life and Director of Housing and Dining Services, Dr. Derek Jackson, and University President Richard B. Myers. I will add that we are looking to sort of individualize some of those names to ensure like no overlap in who it's being sent to, if that makes sense. So I now stand for questions.
Yeah, and so I'll ask the first question just because I'm expecting there might be multiple. But Maggie, my question for you is, can you provide some background on this legislation for the room?
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, a few Fridays ago at the Multicultural Student Center, there were unfortunately some writings put on the discussion and expression boards over there, which perpetuated hate, frankly. And this was really disappointing because the Multicultural Student Center is supposed to be a place for all voices to be expressed, for all perspectives to be embraced, and for productive conversation to be had. And that didn't happen. And it's not just about this, it's about a pattern, it's about a trend on K-State's campus, and it's about a culture of change needing to happen. So I was thinking of ways that we could be more actionable rather than just releasing statements and stuff, because we've done that in the past and like, it's not worth it anymore. So yeah, I wanted to come up with a way to be more actionable. Originally, this resolution just asked for the expediting of the policy and procedure reviews of the action plan. However, after the open forum, I think it was 2 Mondays ago, with some administrators, there were a list of student demands released, and Nathan and I were kind of talking about it and realized that we need to express those student voices as well. So we had some meetings with a few advisors and experts on the matter, and they gave us some ways to tweak some of those demands to be a bit more actionable and a bit more foreseeable. Yeah, so I guess that's the background. We have collaborated with multiple administrators on this and have received nearly all positive feedback on it. So I have a feeling that this will be really well received, and it's already being well received by students. So yeah.
I want to open it up are there any additional questions that people have about this resolution at this time? Chair Booz, we're gonna be making sure to bring a mic around for this one, so Michael's gonna get it to you, just because, yeah, I think this is an important discussion and we don't want to miss anyone's thoughts.
Thanks. Yeah, Maggie, thanks for writing this, and I think it's very well written. I kind of asked something similar to this at Senate Exec, and I do want to ask, a slightly different question, but I think this is important. Is the intent of this resolution to classify those events at the Multicultural Student Center as incitement?
I would say no. That is not my personal intent.
I think that, so yeah, I'll jump in here as someone who has been in multiple conversations with administrators. Again, I think what Maggie said about there being a pattern on campus, like incitement is the act of like bringing violence against people. And like, obviously no one on this campus wants that. And we want to cut that off. I think our concern is that there's a pattern on campus that we really fear will lead to that. And so that's why we're asking for again, as someone who has been here 4 years, I can tell you that there have been similar experiences, unfortunately, about every year of my college career. And so I think that the intent is not to again, when Maggie and I were discussing this, this isn't just about what happened at the Multicultural Student Center on Friday. This is about the fact that there's a pattern on campus. And this is our way of listing, quite frankly, in my opinion, what are pretty reasonable, actionable, and pretty easy things to get done for university administration, and outlining them in a way that's clear and concise and that there's student support. So I would more say, to answer your question, Andrew, that we viewed the incident at the Multicultural Student Center as the catalyst for the reason why why this legislation exists whatsoever. Does that help?
Right, thank you. And I agree that there is a pattern. So anyway.
Thanks, Andrew. Also, the intention of this is not to call out a single event or to call out any individual who has committed any act. So I'll just throw that out there as well.
Next up is Senator Kraslow, who has both a question and correction.
If I could, my camera's being dodgy. Sorry, you guys get to look at the cat. If I could offer a small correction, the dean of the graduate school has been promoted to vice provost. And the way this is written, she wouldn't get a copy of this. So if we could include the vice provost for graduate education, Claudia Petrescu, I'd really appreciate that. So she gets it. That's a small correction. And then I can send you that via email too, Maggie. But if I could ask my question now, and that is, are SGA reps invited to any of the progress reports or reviews of the action plan? And would that work in lieu of section 2, asking the university to give us a separate brief?
Maggie, do you want to take that?
Yeah. Could you clarify which action reports you're referring to?
Sure. The action plan where they're listing student ombudsperson is in progress, policy in progress, process reports in progress. I assume they have progress reports that are delivered to university administration from those who are doing those actions. Are SGA reps in those meetings? And could they be? And would that work in place of section 2 of our resolution? Instead of asking them to come and give us a brief, could we go attend their regular briefs?
Yeah, so just for some background, I got that information off of the website. I am aware that there are a few SGA representatives serving on some of those committees. So I know Nathan has perspective on that, so I'll pass it over to him. And then I have a final clarifying point, if that's okay.
Yeah, so Billy, to answer your point, there's a number of different representatives in SGA or just students in general, some just students at large who are serving on various different capacities for that action plan. So for myself, for example, I serve as the undergraduate student representative under one of the groups that's meeting under line item 2, the policy and process reviews. I'm on the discrimination grievance task force. So I'm on the group that's working to evaluate the intake for students who file complaints specifically with the Office of Institutional Equity. So there's a variety of students who are in small capacities. I know that Multicultural Affairs Director Ron Lopez is on 2 different committees. I believe International Affairs Director Vedant Kulkarni is on a committee or 2. And you can find all of those online if you look at the website, who's on who. But I think that the intention that Maggie and I discussed with that one is that like there is progress and there are updates being made, but I can tell you like from firsthand experience that that's like very disparate. Like the website is not updated as frequently as it should be. I think that our goal was really like that communication plan part, the idea that, you know, we asked that university administrators not just like see this plan through to completion, but they also are providing updates and letting us know like when and where, how much they're doing. On the biweekly update to Student Senate specifically, like we kind of deliberately left that vague on like what that would be about. And so I think Maggie and I, as we like initially crafted this before we presented it to both Senate Exec and DEI, we're thinking, you know, that could be like the same representative coming every week to give updates on all the different action items, or it could like conversely be like a representative from some of the different action items coming every few weeks to give an update on their item specifically. That again, that's intentionally vague to let university administration figure out what would be best. I think the idea here is more just like accountability and saying that like, hey, it's not that hard to stop by Student Senate and give like a 5-10 minute report in first open period. So, and so kind of, yeah, and your follow-up is section 2 an attempt to centralize the reporting to SGA? Yeah, I would say that yes to that. So I hope that helps, Billy. Okay, awesome. Time, yeah, and so I've just been noted that time for questions has expired. There is a motion right now in the chat to move to extend time for questions by 10 minutes. That's been seconded. Okay, a lot in the chat. Hold on, I gotta go back and figure out who's next.
I do
Caucus
have a
leader-
final clarifying point.
Oh, and then Maggie has one last thing to say. in
Yeah,
response to
sorry.
That last question.
Senator Croslow, just to elaborate just a tad on that. I also think that there is very strong feelings of distrust between students and administrators at this point. And I would like to build that trust up because I would like to think that administrators truly have the best interest of students at heart. And so I think that a regular scheduled collaboration with students would help to build that trust back. Also, I would like to, publicize that Student Senate is open to all students who are interested in coming. And so if we have on a regular basis something that students are interested and passionate about, we can show that Student Senate is a welcoming and inclusive body that is open to hearing diverse voices and perspectives. Excuse me.
Okay, Senator Croslow just notes that he agrees and he thinks that'd be a good idea. Next up is Caucus Leader Carlson. By my count, you have the next question.
Okay, hi. First of all, thanks for writing this. My question, well, I have a question and also possibly a friendly amendment depending on how this goes, but I'm wondering if we could add a couple of people to the recipients of this. I would like to add our athletic director, Jean Taylor, and then also the athletics chief diversity officer, Julian Jones. I just think it'd be good for them to receive this because I know this has been something that's been on the minds of a lot of student athletes, and I'll obviously communicate this directly to student athletes as well, but I just think it'd be valuable for them to receive this as well.
I totally agree. Thank you so much.
And I can send their like full titles in the chat.
Thank you.
And then it looks like Director Koger, are you rescinding your question? You don't have it anymore? Okay. And then I believe I'm all cut up on questions then. I just want to make sure. Who? Yeah, Maria. Oh, awesome. I'm glad you're on the call. Yeah, you emailed me earlier today. Yeah, Maria, you have the floor if you'd like to ask a question.
Thank you. My question was pertaining to the distribution of the report that you were talking about the student ombudsperson, knowing that that is a confidential position, and I was on the hiring committee for that, so that is completed, I believe, and knowing that that is a confidential position, do you have a plan for what you want that to look like, or is it just you want something there in general?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Also, thank you for being here. I really appreciate that. I would say that our goal with this is to identify patterns. Just to clarify, are you saying that the student ombudsperson, like the person who holds that, is confidential?
No, I'm saying that the conversations that he has with students are confidential, but he is allowed to produce trends and track trends and stuff.
Yes. So sorry, I was just a little confused and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something really important there. Thank you. Yes, so frankly, this is just to identify patterns and trends, to note blank spots sort of in educational opportunities on campus. So if we notice that there are more incidents regarding discrimination based on race, then we could boost education based on like dialogue surrounding race. If we notice it was like more discrimination based on gender, then we could boost education based on that. That's sort of the goal behind it, is to pinpoint specific problems and areas to be improved upon.
And then I'll also take a bit of that, Maria. Thanks for the question. Another reason that we included that item specifically is that some of the students who spoke up at the forum noted that they like wanted like a report compiled of like all incidents of like discrimination and stuff, like dating back to 2015. For a number of reasons, you know, including the fact that there's been like really high turnover in the Office of OIE and things like that. We were kind of told that it'd be pretty like unfeasible to like release a report dating backwards. But when we met with like Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Brian Samuel, he spoke about how he felt like outlining this would be like, particularly since we have this new position being created, it really allows like this new person, whoever they may be, to kind of just like get that report and compile it. So even if we can't necessarily have all that data like dating backwards, we can have it moving forwards, which I think is the thing that we felt was important as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we were like on the same page of they can report trends, but they can't report specific situations.
Yeah, and that's also why we included the word aggregated data there. It's not about the specifics, it's about collecting everything in the aggregate. So thank you. Are there any further questions at this time? I just want to make sure I'm all caught up. Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much, Maggie, for bringing this up. The one other thing, again, it's kind of lost up in the chat up there as well, but we had interest from students in, again, like having a large, portion of the student body or students who are interested sign on to this. A reminder that any student who is currently enrolled at K-State can be added as a co-author to any piece of legislation. Kind of a fun little fact there. And so if you are interested or people who would be interested in having their names added onto this, please just fill out that Google form that Maggie sent out. Like she said, we're already at like 80 something signatures and it's only been like a couple days. So by final action next Thursday, we're hoping to have a sizable number of names. Again, it'll kind of hopefully make this more petition-like when we present it to university administration. So that was the final little note that I wanted to add there. Moving on, next up we have resolution 59. Is there a motion to consider resolution 59 moved by Chair Booz, seconded by Senator Heimerman? So with that, will the author please come forward?
Okay, hi everybody. This is resolution 2021-59, resolution for accessibility via closed captioning on Zoom communications by Peyton Lynn, Nick Saya, and Natalia Rodriguez. Whereas the Kansas State University accessibility statement reads that Kansas State University is committed to making its electronic and information technologies accessible to all individuals, including those with disabilities. Whereas an online or hybrid modality is used for some courses, organizations, and events that are offered during the 2020-2021 academic year. Whereas the video communication platform Zoom is used for many courses, lessons, and other university-related meetings. Whereas Zoom provides an option for meeting hosts to enable closed captioning and live transcriptions for meetings that are hosted on the platform. Whereas K-State students, staff, and faculty each have the option to enable this setting for all meetings they host via Zoom. Whereas students who are deaf, hard of hearing, have auditory processing difficulties, or have trouble hearing and understanding others on internet-based communication would greatly benefit from having a live transcription of their meetings or classes. Be it resolved that Section 1, in order to uphold its commitment to accessibility, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association requests that closed captioning and live transcriptions should be enabled on Zoom for all K-State classes and university-affiliated events or meetings. Section 2, upon passage of by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Vice President for Student Life, Thomas Lane, College of Agriculture Dean and Director of K-State Research and Extension, Ernie Minton, College of Architecture, Planning and Design Dean Tim DeNoble, College of Arts and Sciences Dean Amit Chakrabarti, College of Business Administration Dean Kevin Winner, College of Education Dean Debbie Mercer, Carl R. Ice, College of Engineering Dean Matthew O'Keefe, College of Health and Human Sciences Dean John Buckwalter, College of Veterinary Medicine Dean Bonnie Rush, Information Technology Services Chief Information Officer Gary Pratt, University Provost Charles Tabor, and University President Richard B. Myers.
Awesome. We will move into questions right now. If people have any. Also, side note, I want to let everyone know I tried to figure out the live captioning feature and was struggling. So if someone after this meeting can help me, I really want to get that going for Student Senate. So come find me because I saw Privilege Fee doing it the other day and really liked it, but couldn't figure it out. So I need help. So someone help me because I love this resolution. Side note. So are there any other questions though? Question from Cox Leader Kid.
Thank you, Speaker Bothwell. My question is in relation to line 34, where it lists Vice President for Student Life, Thomas Lane. Should it be Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students, or is it just Vice President for Student Life? I tried Googling it and I'm seeing different things too.
Yeah, we can change that. That was just kind of what I found on the website of like titles, but that could definitely be added.
Thank you.
There's another question from Senator Croslow.
Same sort of thing I posed to Maggie. Could we add the Vice Provost for Graduate Education? Because they do quite a bit of discussion with graduate students. I can put that name in the chat and the title and all that.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Any further questions?
Yeah, and it's just like a side note to what you said. I do believe that it has to be enabled by both the host and the person who is viewing the meeting. I think that that's a two-way sort of thing from the research that I've done on it.
Okay, we'll get it figured out because I want to do it for Senate. I got asked about it a while ago and I just haven't. So yes, I need help. With that, are there any final questions? I just wanted to check. Seeing none, can we get a round of applause for intern Lynn for sharing that? Awesome. With that, we have now exhausted our legislative agenda for the evening. Yeah, that was probably the most legislation I think we've had at a meeting all year. So with that, we have now moved into our second open period. Are there any second open period speakers tonight? Chair Booz. Michael, do you want to run the microphone around?
Yeah, we can just come back here. Yeah, is it better to walk up? Let's see. So if you know me, you'll know that I'm very into like voting methods and like, trying to reform voting and all that. And like just hopefully, got reelected on partially on that platform. And so I've been in contact with an intern, I believe, at Fair Vote, which is a nonpartisan voting reform organization. Fair Vote is having a meeting or a forum or it's on Zoom anyway, next Tuesday at 11 a.m. To discuss RC, like ranked choice voting or instant runoff voting in colleges and in SGAs. And so if any of you are interested in a different type of voting system than what we currently use that I personally think is better, at least for presidential elections, then feel free to email me and I can send that link to you to sign up. So if you're at all interested, let me know. That's awbooz@ksu.edu.
Awesome. Are there any questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers this evening? I'm just going to go really quickly with just a plug on the awards nominations and applications again. Please remember that those are in the agenda, and the awards one I do need to close after Senate next week. So you'll only have 1 week to do it because I need to get plaques ordered. Fun fact, we got last year's plaques for awards last week. It took a whole year to get them. So I'm trying to be faster than that this year and hopefully get them within a few weeks or around the time of the actual awards. So that's just one thing I want to plug. Again, I love celebrating like the people in SGA. So I think it'd be really awesome for you to think about the people who've been really impactful in this very weird, very strange year. So we can get them some awards. And then the other thing, again, I want to plug is all those applications that are coming up. Again, for judicial, Senate exec, any of those positions, I can definitely at least give a rudimentary answer on any of them if you have any questions, but I'd really like to encourage people to apply for any positions that they're interested in. You do have about a month right now to fill out those applications, but there's no time like the present. So if you're interested in any of those positions, please do it. I also want to stress that if there's any position you're interested in for next year, you should definitely reach out to whoever the current office holder of that position is. But I can also tell you that I'd be happy to meet with anyone to, particularly for any positions that I have held in the past or like helped manage as both speaker pro tem and speaker of these past 2 years, that I'd be happy to give you an overview of that. I just think it's always really great when we see lots of people stepping up into leadership roles. There's like so much you can learn and it's just like really beneficial and it's a really cool way to help out SGA. So just wanted to plug both of those right now while we're here. So thanks guys. Are there any further second open period speakers before I turn it over to Maggie? Andrew, did you have another thing?
That was more of a question.
Oh yeah, question.
On the Senator of the Year, can we just make sure that the why you want this person to be Senator of the Year actually expands vertically, like that box?
I could not figure out how to get that to expand vertically when doing it. Org Central is weird. I looked at that last night. So
Then let's be all talking about it.
okay, we can do that. We can maybe edit the form then. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on there because I was struggling with that as well. Anything else? Any other second open period speaker? Seeing none, everyone's favorite time of night, Senate shout outs. Maggie, I'm turning it over to you. Everyone remember, you can turn on your camera now if you want to.
Woohoo, thanks so much. All right, first off, it says, Ashley, I love you, in all caps. Congrats on all the senator-elect keeping up appearances, even though elections are over. Shout out to Blake Phillips for always being so prepared and ready to ask questions in whatever meeting he attends, exclamation point and smiley face. Shout out to Senator Diaz de Leon for how much effort he has put into Privy this week, even though he isn't a member of the committee. Privy would have been lost without you on fine arts. Shout out to all of our new student senators. Blake, you are a spicy chicken nugget. To all of Senate, I love you. Congratulations to everyone involved in SGA this year and to those who have been elected for next year. You are brave advocating for students and wanting to be a part of this organization. I'm glad to be a member of this body of people. I'm glad to be a member of this body and I look forward to change we will make in the future. Sorry, I didn't see the and there. A special Senate shout out to the Senate shouter outer. Thanks so much. Ooh, say this fast. I saw Susie sitting in a shoe shine shop. All right. I nominate Josh Diaz de Leon for best hair in SGA. I think we might have a brawl here between Senators Glasscock and Diaz de Leon. Shout out to Hannah for leaving her wallet in Wildcat Chamber. I guess nugs on her. Shout out to Josh for sitting up for student voices this week. Hashtag go band. Shout out to Marta and Rachel for being such ambitious leaders. Rest in peace, Wildcat Chambers. Josh, your chair is so squeaky. Shout out to Privy for working out the fine arts and students. Oh, okay. Shout out to Privy for working out fine arts and serving students enrolled within the School of Music, Theater, and Dance. Shout out to Tanner Koch for getting sworn in tonight. He's going to do great things in SGA. Love you too. Shout out to all of our new student senators and for the new class of student senators elected. Oh, thanks for that compliment, whoever said that. Shout out to all of the interns writing legislation. Shout out to Madison Brown for all that she does for the Privilege Fee Committee. It has been a privilege to work with her. Shout out to everyone who's completed and facilitated, or who competed and facilitated the elections for a great year. Sorry, my eyes are not working right now. Absolutely love Peyton's resolution on accessibility via Zoom, closed captioning. It will provide an amazing impact at K-State. And finally, for Nexia, nice sweater. That concludes Senate shout outs. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that, Maggie. Just kind of finishing up our meeting right now for reference of legislation, just so everyone knows where everything is going. Hold on, I gotta pull that page up. Okay, so Bill 38, the one about proxy voters in Student Senate, will be referred to the Senate Operations Committee, where they'll discuss that one. Bill 39 about the Diversity Programming Committee appeals process will be going to the Senate Executive Committee to be discussed there. Bills 40 through 42, which are the travel allocations, will be going to travel allocations for discussion. Resolution 58, which is about the action plan for a more inclusive K-State, and Resolution 59 about the accessibility via closed captioning, will both be going to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for next week. Also, just a reminder, we have 2 other bills currently not in Student Senate. One about JCOC officers that is still in Senate Executive Committee, and one, the Fine Arts privilege fee contract is still in privilege fee. So that's an update on everything there. With that, we'll finally move into our last roll call with Maggie.
Finally, Atchison.
Here.
Booz.
Here.
Brown. Here. Brummett. Burke. Thank you. Carlson.
Here.
Carr. Clements. Colburn.
Here.
Croslow.
Here.
Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Dillevue.
Here.
Doc.
Here.
Dunlap. Frederick. Glasscock.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Gromas.
Here.
Hamlin. Hurd.
Here.
Heimerman.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Hutchings.
Here.
Jambunathan. James Rose.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Coke.
Here.
Levi.
Here.
McKee. Muthu Kumar. Thank you. Noel.
Here.
Nunning.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Panikatu. Thank you. Porter. Thank you. Purdy. Thank you. Richenberg.
Here.
Rodriguez. Rossi. Solomon.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Shunjay. Senator Ben. Senator Blaine.
Here.
Vance. Vogelmore.
Here.
Wallace. Thank you. Ward. Willis Jackson.
Here.
And Willis Reese.
Here.
Is there anyone whose name I did not call? Oh, thank you. I was just informed that Senator Harmon's here. I'll get you counted. All right, that puts us at 38 senators present. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, with that, I will now seek a motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn till next week, same time. It's not the same hybridized place because it will be in the College of Business Building, room 1088. So, no, you're good, Marcus. Thank you for that. With that, it's been seconded. Everyone have a lovely evening. Remember, if you're coming in person next week, we're in business. If you're staying on Zoom, you're fine. So everyone have a lovely night.